I've played a lot of Root, like 400 or 500 games at this point, and I love this game, but I'm starting to feel like I want something to mix it up a bit. Enter the Dawn and Dusk deck. This fan-created deck by Endgamer1331 and its Rudimentary has tons of interesting crafted effects that all feel balanced. It even features beautiful custom art by Lusk on a few cards. When development of the deck was complete, the Dawn and Dusk tournament was announced, and I knew I had to enter. The tournament would of course use the Dawn and Dusk deck instead of the commonly used Exiles and Partisans deck, but had a few additional quirks. First, the games would take place on fan-made maps. Additionally, a few common house rules would be in play. Despot Infamy for the Vagabond, which modifies Infamy scoring to behave like the Erie's Despot Leader ability, and Crows having 3 of each type of plot instead of 2. My first game of the tournament is a 5-player game, and we hop right into a draft featuring the Erie Dynasties, Keepers in Iron, Arbiter Vagabond, Corvid Conspiracy, Lord of the Hundreds, and Marquise the Cat. I'm randomly assigned second in turn order, which means I'll pick second to last. The first player in turn order gets to choose the map, and for this game they go with the Mountainside map by Frolouch. 2 important things to note about this map. Though it's a bit hard to tell visually, there are 3 tunnels connecting clearings 4 and 7, 12 and 10, and 5 and 6. Additionally, these paths do not separate forests as they are underground. This is quite relevant in this game, seeing as both the Badgers and Vagabond are present in the draft. Hands are dealt, and I draw a fox-suited bag, a mouse-suited bag, Service of the Mice, which reads, at start of Birdsong, discard this card to remove all enemy pieces in a mouse clearing with any of your warriors, Foul Play, which reads, as attacker in battle, may discard a bird card or this card to reroll 1 die, and a mouse-suited sword. No T in my hand immediately makes the Vagabond less appealing, which is a shame because I have a feeling it'll be one of my 3 options. The first faction chosen is the Erie, and they set up in clearing 1. Next, the Badgers are picked, and they set up in the opposite corner, clearing 7 and 3. The Cats go next, taking a strong middle position with the Keep in clearing 11. Now my decision becomes really tricky. I don't really want to play the Rats in a 5-player game that features the Cats and Birds, and Vagabond with no guarantee of crafting tea is also rough. I guess I have to go Crows. I set up my first plot in an out-of-the-way mouse clearing and plan for my next plot to be in a corner as well. I lock my choice in, and the final player selects Vagabond. I decide to keep the 2 bags and Foul Play in my hand, and we're off to the races. The Vagabond starts the game by slipping into clearing 5 and exploring the ruin, where they find a sword. Next they move to clearing 2, where they complete the Expel Bandits quest and aid me with the card Hoarders, which reads, once per turn in battle, may exhaust an item in your crafted items box to ignore 1 rolled hit. A neat card that has its effectiveness limited by the presence of a Vagabond, but I'll definitely take it. I begin my turn by crafting the Hoarders card that the Vagabond just gave me. Then I flip my Extortion, scoring 1 point and stealing Protection Racket from the Cats. Then I use Mouse in a Sack to recruit in mouse clearings. I like to look for opportunities to double plot with the Crows, but this doesn't seem like the best time for that. With birds nearby, I want to wait until there's somebody else to smack before poking my head too far out of the ground. Plus, I get to draw 2 cards, which will be critical for informing my next turn. With this in mind, I consolidate and plot a raid in 2 and move my lone crow from 7 to 10 to set up for a plot next turn. I skip exerting and draw a convenient rabbit ambush and less convenient bird dominance. The Cats start their turn by building a recruiter in 4 and then immediately recruiting. They then take their first half of a march from 7 to 4, and the birds try to convince the Cats not to do this in order to hamper the Badgers, but the Cats prioritize defending 4. The second half of their march goes from 1 to 12 to further consolidate. Badgers also mention this is good because it will force birds into a slightly less safe battle. Marching from 2 to 5 might have been safer since there is the possibility that my plot in 2 is an extortion. Not getting a Salma out on this turn sacrifices a good deal of tempo. It seems that the Cats are relying on the Birds and Badgers to go at each other to slow down the game and want to further encourage this by shoring up their buildings. The Badgers of course start the game with a bird card in each column of their retinue and proceed with a double in camp. It's worth noting that they wanted to switch the placement of these 2 way stations after proceeding to act with retinue step, but this tournament has a rule where players may not roll back actions from one phase of their turn to another. In this case, Badgers wanted to roll back from Daylight to Birdsong, but if any player decides to call them out on it, they would be prevented from doing so. And indeed, Birds call them on it here, specifying that this is retaliatory because the Badgers convinced Cats to move out of their starting clearing. They take their move action from 3 to 10 such that they rule each of clearing 7, 3, and 10, then battle and delve in 7 to snag the figure, which is delved safely no matter what, but turns out to be worth 3 points. They then add to the retinue with 2 copies of Spoil, which allows the user to discard an enemy's crafted card while giving them 1 point, but can be cancelled if the targeted enemy discards their own spoil out of their hand, and Arms Trader. They now have 2 bird cards in each retinue column. The birds add the Fox Ambush to move and a Bird Ambush to build, setting up the reliable God of War strategy. After recruiting in 1, they move down to 5 to battle the cats and avoid taking damage in the battle before building their first roost. To start their second turn, the Vagabond slips into 9 and explores for a boot. Seeing as they exhausted all 5 of their items last turn though, there isn't much else for them to do here. They end their turn quickly, so they'll have more items refreshed next turn. I start my turn by crafting Foul Play. Since I'll be working with limited actions, I want to have some insurance against bad rolls. I flip my raid for 2 points and use my bird dominance to recruit and rabbit. Since I have coins in my hand, my goal right now is to get a second rabbit plot without leaving either of them underdefended. To that end, I move the warriors from 6 and 3 into 10 and put down a second raid. Again, I skip exerting and draw the bird-suited crossbow and High Noon, which reads, once in daylight may place a warrior on this card, then may discard this card to place all warriors here in a clearing with any of your pieces. The cats build their second sawmill at the keep, recruit, then march from 3 to 6 and 6 to 10. Still a turn behind tempo-wise, but with well-fortified clearings to hopefully compensate. Badgers now have a much scarier retinue. They start by encamping in 10 and discard public relations to recruit in 7. I'm not going to read every card that other players discard, but I will display the new ones on screen if you want to pause and read them for yourself. They corner the market on boots, crafting both of them, and decide to bide their time a bit, setting up for the next turn by moving some badgers from 7 down to 6 and skipping the rest of their retinue actions. The birds add a mouse card to their move column in the form of Breaking Dawn and then go on the offensive, recruiting in 1 before rolling into 6 with a sizable force and attacking the badgers. They roll a 2-1 and build their third roost. The Vagabond slips into 12 and explores for the hammer before moving into bird territory to craft a root T, and decide to make the first move, rolling a 3-2 and taking out their roost at the cost of damaging a boot and sword. Thanks to Despot Infamy, they only score 2 points. They still haven't found a bag, sadly, and have to toss one of their items. They decide on the damaged boot. This set of coins is burning a hole in my pocket, and thanks to that huge Vagabond turn, nobody's really going to be concerned with me for a while, so I craft them right away. Next, I flip my raid, which is nice to have because it doesn't make anyone mad at me, and people tend to leave raids on the board more compared to other plots, giving my next flip more value. I feel like all of the craftable cards in my hand have good value as well, so I use the Rabbit Ambush to recruit. Wanting insurance on getting at least 1 flip next turn, I plot a Snare in 4 and then move to plot an Extortion in 3. Again, I pass on exerting so I can draw more cards. At the end of my turn, I draw Fox, Dominance, and Adventurers, which reads, whenever another player crafts an item, you may immediately take a move or initiate a battle. I really like this card's effect, and I already have the plots necessary to craft it. Cats build their third sawmill and recruit a few more warriors, then correctly expose my snare with their first guess. Unfortunate, but exactly why I chose to plot twice last turn. They take half of a march to rule clearing 8 and skip the second half. The Badgers, still rocking that 6 bird card retinue, recruit 4 warriors in 10 with Rabbit Guard and Merchants. They then take the relic from 7 along with 8 warriors to attack the birds in clearing 6. They're promptly ambushed, but are able to ignore one of those hits with Devout Knights and roll 3-2. Their second battle is a 2-1, managing to take out the roost. They then retreat back to their corner of the cavern in 10 and 7. They add 2 fox cards to their retinue in Off Trail and Sly Dog. The birds, starting their third turn with only 3 points in their starting roost, decide drastic action is necessary and put Mouse Dominance in their build column. They move their clump of birds to 5 and stick 1 and 6 to get their second build before battling the Vagabond. A 1-0 roll doesn't hurt the Vagabond too much, only damaging their torch, but the birds are really just concerned with avoiding the loss of more warriors at this point. The biggest issue with this turn is that both of the roosts they've just built are in mouse clearings, potentially making mouse build less sustainable later on in the game. The Vagabond immediately repairs their torch and makes their way to clearing 6 to attack the birds. They briefly consider attacking me in 3 to deny my flip, but Embedded Agents plus the fact that I'm the crows quickly disillusions them with this thought. They take out the roost and its lone guard for a quick 2 points without taking any damage in return. Lastly, they move to 3 and aid me with merchants and spoil to get 2 points and my new stack of coins. I craft Adventurers and High Noon, then flip my Extortion for 4 points, and as a bonus I get Service of the Foxes and Dusk Awakening, which reads, at the end of evening, may place a warrior on this card, then may discard this card to draw 1 card per warrior here, then return all warriors to their supplies. I immediately discard Service of the Foxes to recruit, place a warrior on High Noon, then move my crow from 12 to 9 so I can have a slightly more protected plot there. I opt for Bomb, thinking that cats or birds might end up building here, and the flip could give me an extra point. Additionally, the bomb removing itself from the board keeps the threat level of my next flip just a bit lower. Finally, I take the free roost in 1. Again skipping Exert, I draw Service of the Rabbits, Military Supplies, which reads, at start of Birdsong, may initiate up to 2 battles. At end of evening, discard a card or this card. And Night Terrors, which reads, at end of evening, must initiate a battle if able. In that battle, may discard this card to deal an extra hit. Service of the Rabbits I don't care so much about, but the other 2 cards are great improvements that will really enhance my action economy. At the end of my turn, I discard Dusk Awakening, Merchants, Spoil, and Service of the Rabbits. It's important to note that I avoid discarding Fox Dominance because that might give the cats a legitimate win condition, given how weak the birds are and how entrenched cats are in fox clearings. The cats overwork a sawmill and then build a sawmill and workshop in clearing 8 for 5 points. Probably the quickest turn of the whole game, took them less than a minute. The badgers need a big turn to stay competitive here. They start by decamping in 10 and recruiting in 7, and then roll their armored badger ball into clearing 12. They roll a huge 3-0 with their first battle, which the cats notably field hospital with a bird card, then roll a 3-2 to clear the rest of the cats out. Tragically though, they sandbox the final roll, 0-0, and only remove the recruiter. They end their turn by sending a lone badger all the way from 7 to 1, setting up an encamp for next turn, and lose a warrior in 12 to live off the land. They also add the bird-suited boot card to their battle and delve column. The birds add a bird card to move and a fox card to battle using the last bird ambush in the deck, and Foxfolk steal. They pick up the undefended sawmill for a risk-free point since all of the potential ambushes are in their decree, take out the lone badger in 1, and re-establish their roosts in 1 and 6. At this point, the commentators are starting to call this game as a race between Crows and Vagabond, as the red factions hampered each other a bit too much at the beginning to be able to keep pace. The Vagabond retrieves the bag from the final ruin and aids the Badgers for a point and a boot. Eventually, they are deciding whether to scoop up some juicy way station points or attack the birds again, and the ensuing debate devolves into complete chaos. I'll play a couple short clips to illustrate this.
You know, and they don't have relics that are
You
in the
really
back,
shouldn't. They've got
column
double
boards
bill.
coming in.
But I also
Right,
feel bad
I think
about
they are
battling
just
the birds
genuinely
because they
behind,
can damage
so
2 of my
who cares
items
about
where
helping
I'm
them?
risking 1.
Get some coupling.
Yeah, but you
like-
damage the boots that you just exhausted to get there.
You haven't been scoring very quickly, but we blink and next turn you've got 5 roosts and you're getting multiple. I mean, there's plenty of cardboard for you to munch on. You're gonna have several battles.
You can.
Yeah, again, he's crows, though.
But like I said, it's still crows. I don't have a consistent
Okay,
method
the table's
to
just
score.
But he's
chaos
gonna be
now.
stopping the person that
Just
could
total
maybe be stopping
chaos.
your plots. Like, I'm not gonna be able to stop and kill plots
Oh, man.
if I don't have an army.
I don't want to stop the birds because that means the other birds win.
Yeah, I mean, you're in a weird. Here's what I'll say though:
Dude,
like,
this is
crows,
like being in a
crows are.
labyrinth and you're faced with a minotaur, a big snake, and like a flower that's really poisonous.
Poisonous line. Crows are stoppable. Like as long as like once they get to like the 21, 22 point range, they're dealable no matter what their board position is.
That's
However,
if people can do it, but if
and we will find a way. Like there's enough competent brains at this table to pin crows.
I mean, if
they
I
get
have
hurt.
no chance of winning, I'll king my crows any day.
By the way, that's Theory in the corner there. They were kind enough to stream and commentate all of the games in this tournament. Check out their channel linked in the description. I'm going to let some more of this debate play out though because it's great stuff.
That's rough.
I don't think we
In
want
terms
to
of whether
give
crows are
birds
stoppable or
a
not.
foothold here is the thing because like none of us want to battle them really except the Vagabond.
You've done a good job of getting birds on the back feet. You don't
I've
want
done a really good
get
job
back
of
into the
pushing
game.
them back, and I didn't
Yeah.
feel bad because it was like kind of birds
You-
are gonna get their engine running if I don't deal with them quick.
there
But
is no like you should never feel bad. Like
You should never feel bad.
you
Kick that
should never
baby
feel
and
bad.
sue it.
It's a war game, right? Like at the end of the day,
That's true.
you don't want them to be able to sustainably
well, I'm
maintain
saying
double
no
kill.
emotions, no emotions
Yeah.
in this. It's safer to attack crows or badgers. The problem is 8 in
Is it?
potential, and it's safer because they can only deal 1 damage here against me with crows, and
Oh.
they can only deal 1 damage to me. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
like,
but
pure
you
safety
don't
advantage.
care about that because I'm about to craft you an anvil.
Really?
Maybe. I don't know. Is there going to be a dead mouse roost?
There will.
Yeah.
If you don't
Don't
craft
let him manipulate you further. Oh my god.
Okay, here's the thing. If he doesn't craft it, then the whole game.
I just
Oh,
like
God.
the birds are really not that far behind. If we don't
I am,
touch them
though.
here, they're getting 4 from roosts, multiple cardboard points. They're catching
I
right
have
up.
Recruit. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not going anywhere. Like, this is also the crow player
Yeah,
is asking to take out the police force that can potentially stop them.
Granted, that is true. Okay, you get the idea. Actually, maybe you don't.
I'm just scared of the crows.
Yeah, I mean, just
You know what?
consider
Crows
how much
are
I can plot, and
terrifying.
consider the
Yeah.
amount of people at the table that can remove a one
I'm thinking
singular
about the 5
crow
points
plot
you're about
between
to get,
turns.
is what I'm thinking.
Okay.
I
love
yeah,
conversation,
no, that's fair,
but
then what comes
it's times
next,
like
you know?
these
I
where I
plot, it gets removed. I
consider
plot, it gets removed. Like, there's
turn
not
timers,
much I do about that.
you know.
I am still the
Yeah.
crows. We are now 6 minutes into this debate over a single action. This is what Root is all about, baby. After about 8 total minutes of debate, Vagabond decides to attack Badgers and rolls a 1-0. The longer the debate, the worse the dice roll. This is just how it goes, folks. They remove the defenseless way station for 2 points, and since they don't have the actions to remove the second way station, I valiantly volunteer to take the free point for the good of the table. I use all 5 of my plots to craft night terrors, crossbow, and military supplies, giving me a ton of battle actions and another point. I skip recruiting this turn as I only have 2 cards left and 2 crows left in my supply. Instead, I put another crow on high noon to set up a pseudo recruit for an upcoming turn. But before that, I flip my bomb for 5 points. Watching this VOD back, I've realized that I only gave myself 4 points for this flip. I forgot that I just got a point from the crossbow and thought I miscounted. Regardless, I move 1 crow from 3 to 7 to set up a night terrors battle and 2 crows from 8 to 4, where I plot another snare. Surely they won't guess snare again, right? I draw rabbit dominance, mouse sword, and no way, the holy grail, another set of coins! Immediately the gravity of the situation hits me. If I just play it cool and lay low, I can win next turn before anyone expects me to be able to. If I don't, I should still be fine with all of the improvements I have crafted, but you just never know. I'd prefer to get it done next turn. My plot just needs to survive 1 round. At the end of my evening, I have to resolve night terrors and military supplies, so I take the way station in 7 and discard rabbit dominance. The cats start their turn by crafting a bag, immediately allowing me to make use of adventurers. I decide to move my crows from 9 to 2 in order to set up an attack on the roost in 5 next turn. Additionally, ceding this 2-slot clearing to the cats will hopefully mean they spend their whole turn focusing on setting up more builds to get back into the game, leaving me alone. They take a march from 11 and 2 into 9 and build a sawmill. They decide to battle me in 10, which is completely fine, it's not my face down plot, and I still have enough rabbit plots to craft coins. I only have 2 crows to place for the raid effect, so I stick them in 7 and 3. It's worth noting that cats considered battling my unflipped plot, but decided against it because they didn't want to take too many hits and expose their buildings. There were still 3 players between their turn and mine, and other players were saying such things as, "There's no way that plot flips in a sane world." The Badgers now have an almost full retinue and begin by encamping with a tablet way station in 12, then recruit twice with a Root T and Tricky Claws. They send a group of warriors into clearing 1 to rule it, then 3 more with the Relic into 9. They battle cats and get a clean 3-0, which the Cats Field Hospital with another bird card, then delve a tablet which turns out to be worth 2 points. They battle and delve again for a point and a tablet worth 3 points, but have to lose a bird card from their retinue. They battle the birds in 1 and roll a 3-2, then make a couple moves that set up safe recoveries of their 2 tablets, scoring 5 more points. They don't add any cards to the retinue, but did lose 1 bird card from the battle column this time, so this is what it currently looks like. The birds add a rabbit and a mouse card to move in the form of military supplies and mouse guard. They recruit in 5 and do a little bird dance to satisfy all of their move requirements, then build in 1 and 7. I'm certainly surprised that my plot is still standing, and the birds have left 2 undefended roosts for the Vagabond to munch on that would lead them in the opposite direction of said plot. All I can do now is hold my breath. They slip to 6 and craft a second T, then mop up the roosts in clearing 6 and 5 for the easiest 6 points you'll ever see in Root. To end the turn, they head to Crowtown in clearing 2 and complete the guard duty quest for 2 points, putting them in a comfortable 25. And yes, I did miss an adventurer's opportunity when the T was crafted. You'll have to forgive me, I was too busy being relieved that my plot was staying on the board. I used my 2 military supplies battles against the birds in 7, getting a 2-0 on the first roll and cleaning up the roost on the second. Then I craft my bag and my coins for 4 points and flip my snare for another 4, getting me all the way to 29. Since all of the fox ambushes are in the decree, I move my crow down from 8 to 1, then deploy the 2 warriors on high noon to 1 as well. I now have 4 battles to remove this roost, including Exert and Night Terrors, but it only takes me 2, and I punch my ticket to the semifinal round. If you liked this video, please check out Endgamer and Thui's YouTube channels linked in the description. They did a great job running this tournament, and this video was only possible because of them. Stay tuned for coverage of my semifinal game.